Today's tutorial is all about how we can take content that looks like this and make it more presentable. This is one of the newbie errors that people make when they jump into building their own website. What we have is lots of content, and I've asked ChatGPT just to make it in this format so it all looks a little bit flat, like a A4 document. I've even asked it to remove the subheadings, although it's not quite done that because it's still put essentially subheadings in place. Just visually, it's all part of a simple paragraph structure. So we're going to take this content and we're going to bring it across into our demo site that we're building in the Hosting a Website Builder. And we're going to make it look more like this format where we break up the page section by section. And I'm going to show you a few tips in this deep dive how to make the most of simple content. So go to Pages of Navigation and I'm going to add a new page and I'm going to add a new empty page just so we can show what it looks like when we're working with a clean slate. And we'll rename this one to About. About is already named, so I've just chosen About Us instead, because we've got About as our parent page there. In fact, we could just edit this one, couldn't we? Yeah, we'll do that. Just move this one up into position. We're going to ignore the other one for now, even though we've got an About page already in place. With this new page selected, we can see that there's not a lot of content in here. We've gone straight from the header section, which hasn't been finished, obviously, to the footer. And so we're going to add a blank section in the middle of this page. And in this blank section, we're going to add one text block. From here, I'm going to jump back to ChatGPT, copy that text, and come back in and paste it in. I'm just going to select all of this and change it down to paragraph 2 style. And I select all the text and change the color to the black or just off black. And so that's what we start with, a very boring, mundane section. I could add a new section above for our header. We want this for our hero unit, so I'm just going to add a blank section. I could have just copied the one from the home page and adjusted it. But let's go for a background image and choose one we've already uploaded, this wider format one on a previous tutorial. And we're going to add a new title in this section called About Us. I'm going to move it into that section there and bring it so it's roughly the edge of the S is about in line with the second from the end. And now we can use that as our format for subsequent pages as well. Bringing this content up, there's nothing inherently wrong with this other than the fact it's dull as dishwater, and I'm not sure people will sit and look through that type of content on a website unless they're fully engaged. So if we're trying to sell information on a website, we need to really break this down and make it more interactive. Just by using the standard settings, we can do quite a bit already. So I'm going to put in a heading 2 because we've got a heading 1 should be at the top. Then we go for heading 2. The heading sizes are all over the place here at the moment. They're all way larger than I want them. So I'm just going to manually adjust them just to save some time at the moment. Just check that there's no extra space and above. Double checking that spacing. So we've got paragraph 2. Heading 2, but I'm going to change that down to a much smaller size. We're going to go for paragraph 1 for the introductory paragraph, and we're going to feed into the content. So it gets a little bit smaller as we go through to the content, but even that is starting to look a little bit better. We've got a nice bit of spacing around here. We've got our main page heading, and then we've got our content that goes from heading size to paragraph 1 into paragraph 2. What I would normally do is just take paragraph 2 and make it a little bit smaller, just so there's a bigger jump between paragraph 1 and 2, like that. Okay, that's one option. Again, that's still pretty dull, and what we want to do is see if we can break it up into multiple columns. One way we could do this is duplicate this text. I'm going to duplicate it once more. Bit of housekeeping first. This is going to be as is, so I'm just trimming that section down. This section, we're going to get rid of the first part. And I'm going to bring that text up to the top. And now I'm going to just reduce that. And we're going to do the same with the second one. In fact, what will be easier as we fly through it is to duplicate it at this stage so I don't have to go and trim out that first part again. As both are saying the same thing, you may have guessed what I want to do next. One is just to remove that bottom block and remove that top block. At this stage, we could either carry on with the 2-column format, or we could take it one step further, and let's do that. Let's duplicate each of these one more time. This time, we're going to remove the top paragraph from the bottom one, and the bottom paragraphs from the top blocks. Now we've got our 4 blocks, we can customize them a lot more. For example, we can bring this content down further, and we could decide to bring that so it's roughly halfway across that content block, and do the same here. It does bring it in off the side, but I often find a little bit of extra padding on that right-hand side can look really smart. Another reason why I'm going to do that, I'll show in just a moment. So now I'm just trying to find a heading for each of these sections. And now we can see we've got 4 text blocks. And finally, we can just go for something like a heading 6. Normally, these would be probably heading 3 or 4. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I'd need to go through and just change all the default font sizes just to make it a little bit more manageable. So we can see the heading 4 there is huge, and it doesn't really fit neatly with the rest of the content. Already, hopefully you're seeing just how much nicer that's looking. So we've got some options now. We could either put some icons in for each of these, or we could put some photos in, full width photos, photos in shapes. So let's go for photos that are in circular shapes. So if I go to image, and I'm going to keep this one in as an example. I suppose it could be the interior of a holiday let. So if we go to edit image, we go to shape, choose a circle, and it will create a circular frame around the center of that image. And snap it to the left. And now by the time we've just reduced the frame, we can see that's fitting nicely there. So I'll get the first one in place first. And bring that second block to match it. Instead of having to go through and change that image every single time, again, I can just duplicate it, or press Command D on a Mac or Control D on a PC to do that even quicker. Last one, bring it into place. We can, of course, change the image in each of these blocks, but I'm looking to make sure that we've got consistent spacing throughout. That's okay by eye. I might need just to double check that again. One other option we've got, and we'd have to do this one at a time, is we could decide to bring this content over to the right. So if I bring it halfway through that grid, say for this image here, now I can bring these images in this format. And I tend to prefer this. It's more economic use of the white space as well. And so quickly we're going to do the same with these two as well. I think I moved that one by accident instead of adjusting it, so I just changed that back now so it aligns. I'll just show you what it looks like if I can find an icon instead. See if there's any free icons in Unsplash. Never actually tried looking for one on here. They're not simple single color icons is what I was looking for. I'll just put these social media blocks in instead. We've got a set and they all look slightly different, even though they're not related to the content in any way. And even though this logo doesn't technically exist any longer. Even though they don't tie into the content, I just wanted to show you a theme that could carry through. They're not my cup of tea, these type of icons. I really like flat design, and that can lend itself really well with a hero image. But then this gives you a far more professional look and feel than that original 4 or 5 paragraph breakdown that ChatGPT provided us. So it just goes to show that with a little bit of tweaking and spending an extra 10 to 15 minutes, how we can make thoroughly professional website layouts. And the beauty of hosting a website builder as well is we can now copy this section, jump across to another page, or even on another section in this page, and paste it in again. So if you wanted to borrow this format for another page, or even run two alongside each other to see what they look like in slightly different styles, you certainly can do that. So I can show you this same format on the white and the grey. You can then decide which one you're going to run with. You could decide to go for the light silver or grey option, and then remove this option above it. One thing to note here is I haven't been working on mobile, and this is going to be all over the place on mobile. As we can see here, the images are all too large and in the wrong place. I've created a deep dive showing how to fix exactly this type of page on mobile view, and part of it will be to shrink down the size of those icons and then realign them in place. But we're not going to cover that in the remainder of this tutorial. Hopefully that's given you some ideas and inspiration of how you can take single column format text and bring it into multiple columns, break it up with some images or icons to make that look thoroughly professional and engaging. What this page is lacking is maybe some social proof through testimonials, where we could add a new section and then bring in some testimonials in that area. And finally, it needs some sort of call to action. We could finish it off with a call to action. Change the color of that text so it just pops a little bit more. I've gone for a monochrome layout on this site because we're working on structures at the moment, but I will be bringing color in a future deep dive session. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers. If you have found this video helpful, then why not try out some of our other content? I'm Elwyn Davis, founder of Pixel Haze Academy, and I have been running successful, fast-growth web design agencies for 20 years. To jump further into the Hostinger rabbit hole, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, use my affiliate link and get 10% off Hostinger, get exclusive discounts on my Hostinger courses, and the Pixel Haze VIP membership. On top of all of that, you can now book a one-to-one session with me, and we can tackle your web design challenges together. You can find all of these options in the description. Enjoy.